Hi everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone. Welcome to my craft room. I'm so excited to have you here today. In today's video, I'm going to show you a really cool technique to sublimating onto Glitter HTV. This is going to keep you from having to line everything up. It's going to eliminate any of those chances of the white lines around it, and this is super fun. I used this gorgeous pink pumpkin design, so I will link this design down below, as well as a couple others that I almost used but decided on this one instead. We're going to be using some really fun techniques. We're going to use print and cut with our Cricut to make this, so let's go ahead and get started. And before we do, make sure you're subscribed here, that way you don't miss out on any of the new DIY videos that I have coming out. Before we get into the project, I just want to talk a little bit about how to choose a design when you're going to do this type of a project. So for example, this is so cute. Like, this design is adorable. And as much as I would love to use it, this is not going to work well for a couple of reasons. Number one, all of these pieces are separate parts of the design. So where you see kind of this watercolor, like watermark through, and where you see the background through is all parts that are going to cut. So you're going to cut around all these little letters, all the leaves and the little dots, and that's going to be really hard to piece back together on your shirt. It's going to be really hard to cut on glitter. So it's just not a design that would work really well. This would be a great design for DTF, for just true sublimation. You could add an offset to this if you wanted to use it, but you're going to have a lot of white around it, so not a great option. But the one that we're going to use is this really cute pink leopard pumpkin. And the reason that this is going to work really well is it's all one piece. It doesn't have any really small spots. It's pretty round, so it's easy to cut. It's easy to see through. So this is going to be a really good one to use. So I'll link the two designs below, because I know everyone's going to ask about that fall season one. So if you want to use that for something else, I'll link it below. But I'll also link the pink leopard one down here below too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on download, and I'm going to download the image into my folder that I made for this tutorial, which we called Glitter Sub. And all I'm going to do is click save. Now these folders come compressed, meaning they are zipped, which means that we need to extract the file from it. So I'm going to click extract all, and then just simply click extract. Once I've done that, I have access to my PNG right here. Now we're going to take this PNG over into Design Space, and I'm going to show you how to print this out onto your sublimation paper and get it ready to cut out. Over in Design Space, we will need to upload our design to the software. So I'm going to click Upload Image and click Browse. From here, I can grab my design, and all I have to do is go into my folder and find that, and then go in and grab that PNG. I could also drag and drop. Now these PNGs are really high quality, so it might take them a moment to load into Design Space. Once it's loaded onto this screen, simply just click Continue. Once it's in this screen, because this is a PNG with a transparent background, we don't need to do anything, and you can see that checkerboard. That means that that is all transparent area. So we're going to click Apply and Continue. Now again, being that this is a big high quality image, it may take a moment to move on to the next screen. Once it does, you want to choose Flat Graphic, and this is for print and cut, and then we're going to click Continue. From here, again, it might take a moment, but all we can do here, we can rename this. So if you want to call it Leopard Pink Pumpkin, and then you can add like little keywords if you want. If I could type, we'd be doing great. You can add some keywords if you want to do pink, pumpkin, leopard, Halloween, fall. You add what you want to this, just so that it's, you can search it easier in your uploads. Then you can add it to a collection if you want to, and then we can click Upload. Now from here, it'll absolutely put it right into your canvas, which I love that it does that now. Now it may come up really, really big, because again, this is a big quality image. Like I said, the image is huge, so we're going to size it down, and I usually size it down pretty small to start off with, and I'll resize it in just a moment, but I'm just going to size it to a 5-inch just so we can see it. Now, another thing that I want to make sure that I do is first make sure I have my right machine selected. I'm going to use my maker, but I want to go up into my settings and I want to go into load type and check the size of my print and cut paper size, because I'm going to be using my sublimation printer that has letter size paper in it. So I'm going to select the 8.5 by 11 letter paper and then just click done. Now from here, we can make this as big as we want to that will fit on to that printable paper. But what I like to do is I'm going to use my template because it's going to help me make sure I size this as large as I can go. This is my template. I will link it down below for you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the sizing so that it's actually the correct size. So this is actually needing to be 7.43. After the last update, it's been a little bit touchy, so it doesn't really love to be as big as it should be. Now you'll notice that our pumpkin goes behind it. I don't want that. I'm going to go ahead and right click on this and I'm going to send this to the back. I'm going to put my pumpkin over this and then I'm going to make my pumpkin as large as I can on my page here. Now, one thing I want you to note is sometimes if you turn it, you can make it bigger, because you'll notice that my width is actually a little bit larger than my height. So if I rotate this 90 degrees, I have a little bit more space where I can expand this into a little bit larger of a print than cut area. Now again, you're going to have to kind of play with it a little bit, and I like to really try to fit it as big as I possibly can onto my sheet. Now you'll notice here that we still don't have the red warning, so we could probably go a little bit bigger because we can technically usually go about 7.44 with our height on our designs. Now I'm going to see if it'll let me go a little bit bigger, and you can see if I went 7.45, it's too big, so we're going back down to 7.44. I can get rid of this. I don't really need it anymore. That was just a guide. But this is our pumpkin. We're ready to print this. Now, our next step, all we have to simply do is save it. I highly recommend always saving before you hit make it, especially if you've like sized things or made any changes to your design. It's really important to save because then you don't have to go back and do any of the work again. Now, when I hit make, what you're going to see is it's going to bring up our print option. And I want to show you, we have our registration marks on all of the corners, and then we have our pumpkin ready to be printed. Now on this screen, we don't need to do anything other than hit continue. From here, we're going to select send to printer. Now here, we want to make sure we have the right printer selected. So I'm actually using my Sublimation printer, which that one is my ST4000. That's an Epson printer that I just converted over into Sublimation. Now I'm going to leave the bleed on because that's going to push a little bit of the color out just a little bit further from my pumpkin, allowing any of like maybe a little bit of white space that might show up to be hidden. The next thing that I'm going to do is I want to turn on my use system dialog. This is a super important step. Do not skip this step because this is how we're going to mirror the design without mirroring it in Design Space. When you print sublimation, in order for it to come out the right direction, it has to be mirrored, but we cannot mirror it in Design Space or it's not going to cut it right. So what we'll do is turn that system dialog on and hit print. Once you've hit print, it'll take a second and bring up your printer preferences. In your printer preferences, we need to double check and make sure we have the right printer selected again because it doesn't, for whatever reason, translate over. So I want to make sure that ST4000 is selected, and then I go to preferences. Now I change a few things in here so that it prints really well. The first thing that I do is I change my paper type to premium presentation paper matte, and then I change my quality from standard to high, and I always make sure the color is selected. Now I need to change two more things. Under more options, I want to turn off this high-speed print and I need to mirror the image. If I don't mirror the image, like I said, it won't print correctly on Design Space because we need to press to the glitter and then have it cut. This is such a fun way to do this, but it does take a little bit of like mirroring and kind of figuring out how it has to work. Now with this, I'm good to go. I'm ready to print this. I always just kind of double check all my settings. Now, if for some reason you open up your printer preferences and those settings don't exist, it's because you haven't installed the drivers on your printer correctly. So I want you to go to your printer's manufacturer's website and search for the drivers for your printer and reinstall them. 9 times out of 10, that fixes the issue. Now from here, all I have to do is print out my design and then I'll show you how to press this to your glitter. The first thing that we'll need to do when it comes to putting our design onto our glitter is to cut the glitter to fit our design. Now, the one thing I want you to know is I have found that you don't want to cut it really tight to these lines. You really want to try to keep it about the same size as the paper. So all I'm doing is just kind of lining it up, and then I'm just going to cut this down so that it's about the same size. It can be a little bit longer than the paper, but I don't want it much wider, and I definitely don't want it thinner than the paper, because that's going to help the Cricut know where it needs to cut. Now, I will say that this is just being a pain right now. There we go. So I'm just trying to keep this pretty straight. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want it to be pretty close. And there. Now, what we want to do, and this is going to sound like something you're like, I don't want to do that, but trust me, if you do this, the glitter is on a carrier sheet, so when we press it, we need to be pressing to the glitter side that's going to actually show out on a shirt, which is this super glittery side. This is the back part, which has the adhesive. So I want you to take off the carrier sheet, which is just this clear sheet. And sometimes it can be a little tough to get a corner started. You can just use your pin pen and grab a corner of this carrier sheet. And again, sometimes it's just a little difficult. Sometimes it's a little stickier than other times, but we need to make sure that we get this peeled off. Now that I've got that corner started, you just peel this off, and your glitter is going to feel thinner because it won't be as stiff without the carrier sheet. You just want to go kind of slow and get this sheet all the way off of your glitter. So usually what I'll do is I'll get it started, and then I just kind of hold it down as I pull the carrier sheet off. And you want to hang on to your carrier sheet. Don't toss it out. Keep it, because we're going to use it one more time. So now all I have to do is when I go to press this, I want to put my glitter and my sublimation sheet, and then I also have a piece of parchment paper. This piece of parchment paper will need to be under my glitter, and that's going to prevent the glitter from getting any of the adhesive onto the design. Now, one thing I will say, I want to make sure that I've got this lined up pretty good on here. Now this little strip, I think I am going to go ahead and just trim that off, just because we don't need it, and it might cause the Cricut to not read this correctly if we put this in the wrong way. So I'm just going to trim that little strip off. It's fine. It's no big deal. We could use that somewhere else. But now I've got this ready to go. I do need to put a piece of butcher paper over this to prevent any bleed through. Then we're going to press this at about 385 for about 45 seconds. I have my heat press set at 385 degrees for 45 seconds. And I'll just go over this again with you. We have parchment paper, glitter, sublimation print, butcher paper. That's the order it needs to go in from bottom to top. That way you're protecting your press, you're protecting your glitter, you're protecting your sublimation, all the things. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press this for that 45 seconds, and then we're going to need to peel it off of the parchment paper, but I'll take you over to the table for that because you want to peel it while it's still pretty warm to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and let this press, and then we'll take it over to the table and get it peeled off. Now that our press is done, we're going to open this up. You're going to toss this butcher paper out. We don't need it anymore. And then I'll show you what this looks like because we can take the sublimation off. So stinking cute. But we want to give this a minute to cool down, and then I'm going to peel it off. But like I said, I'm going to do that over on the table because the last time I did this, I messed it up. I have our print on our parchment paper, and I want to peel it off. So I have found that the easiest way for me is I flip my parchment paper over, and then I peel the glitter off of the parchment paper. I let it cool for just a moment or two so that it's not like super hot and super sticky, but you want to do it before it cools too much because, like, see, I've got some parchment paper stuck. That's okay. I can just peel that off. Sometimes you'll get a little bit that sticks. No biggie. But you do need to do this while it's still relatively warm, or it could mess up your print, which we definitely don't want to do. I've got a little bit stuck, but I'll be able to get that off no problem. So I'm going to peel this off and then show you how we cut this with our Cricut. Our next step is to place our design onto our mat. So you do want to use something that's relatively sticky, and I want to make sure that you guys know you want to put this in the same direction that it's facing in Design Space. So for me, the stem is going to be to the right side of our design here. So when I put this into the Cricut, it's going to go this direction. Now, if all goes according to plan, what's going to happen is it's going to read our registration lines, then it's going to cut around our pumpkin, and then I'm going to show you how to press this to your shirt. And before I unload, I'm gonna check to make sure it cut through. Just to be sure, I'm just gonna peel this back, and I'm just gonna double check it cut through. I think it cut through well enough. I've got a little spot right there, but I think everything else looks pretty good, which you can just kind of peel this and see. But this looks really good. It looks like it cut perfectly, which shocker for Cricut, but I think it did a great job. I'm gonna unload, get the rest of this back part off, because we obviously don't need this anymore. Put that over to the side, and then I'm gonna have you guys flip your mat to take this off. I want you to flip your mat upside down, and then I want you to very gently peel back the edges of this, because you don't want to rip it or anything now that we've gone through all of this work. So you just very gently peel this back. Very, very gentle, very gentle. I'm not pulling too hard. And now we have our glitter iron-on thingy. I guess we could call it a patch that we can work with. So I'm going to go ahead and grab our shirt and show you how we're going to place this onto our shirt. I've got this pretty purple shirt. This is a Fruit of the Loom iconic shirt. Believe it's 100% cotton. It is, so perfect. Now remember I told you that the glitter carrier sheet was going to come into play again and you wanted to keep it? This is where it's coming into play again. I'm going to put this over my design, and I'm doing this to protect the design when we go to press it so that nothing, happens to it. But all I'm going to do, and sometimes it doesn't stick, so I'm going to give you a quick trick. If it doesn't stick, I want you to line up your pumpkin where you want it onto your blank, whether you're doing a shirt, a bag, whatever it may be. Line it up where you want it. Then I want you to take your glitter carrier sheet, I'll move this up a little bit, and I want you to place that glitter carrier sheet just back on top of it and press it down. It should stick to the shirt fine. But this is gonna protect the design. This is gonna protect your press. Now, per Caesar, we can press this at 385 degrees, but we only need to press it for like 7-8 seconds versus the 15 to 20. But Caesar did say it was okay, so I'm gonna believe them, and I'm gonna press this a little bit hotter than I normally would. So I'm gonna move this over to my press by just folding this up so that it doesn't move, and then we'll meet you back over at the press. This gorgeous glitter pumpkin is ready to be pressed. So remember, I can press this at 385 degrees, but I only want to do a few seconds. So I'm just going to kind of count and watch my countdown. I'm going to do about 8 seconds for this. So I'm not going to press it super duper long, just for a few seconds. And Caesar said that that was fine. So we're going to believe the manufacturer. And then glitter is a hot peel, so we can go ahead and take this off. And this is, it's on here so beautifully. I'm going to let this cool off a little bit, and then I'll give you guys a good close look at it. Here's the shirt all finished, but I wanted to point out the carrier sheet to you, and this is why you want to keep it. You'll notice that some of the color transferred onto that sheet, and by putting that over it, it did protect our press. Now you could use butcher paper, but since I was already going to use the sheet, why waste a sheet of butcher paper since I already had that carrier sheet anyways, and it was going to get thrown out. Look at how vibrant this is. It's so gorgeous. This is a really easy project to do. I will say, if you mess up once like I did, don't worry about it. Just start over. You're going to mess up sometimes, and you're going to learn from those mistakes. Now, if you have any questions about this or any of the other fun things that we do here on our channel, please let me know in those comments down below. I also want you to note that there are no white lines around this pumpkin. I'm so happy with how this came out. Cricut did a great job for once with the print and cut, and adding that bleed is always like an extra little helpful step. Now, again, I really hope you guys have fun with this. I've linked everything we used down below, including some extra designs that I really loved. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting.